What do you want to start with?
Donuts and coffee.
Okay, so we have the intake in, we've got the fuel rail on, we've got the injectors back in, putting the clips on, found out that our kit did not come with the right connectors, so got to give a call about that to connect up to the injectors. So I'm going to get in touch with Holly about that today. We have a throttle body to put on soon, plus the stuff at the front of the engine. So some good stuff accomplished this morning. So now that we've got the fuel rail set up, Tim is doing another fun installation.
Throttle body.
And that guy is kind of a, is it an online special?
Yeah, that was a, what do they call it, the Jungle website?
Yep. And what size were we and what size did we go to? We went to
We were this size. Fair. It's a 92. I think we were what? I don't know measurements. Does it say on here? I'd have to look up what the stock size is. 74, 84.
I thought it was 70 something.
Oh, maybe there's RME 87. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that 6 inches is this much.
Exactly. And then we've got here.
Dun, dun, dun. Yes. $1 a pound. And the hardware for it somewhere. OLS stuff. Oh yeah, no, that's definitely not the right way. Cool.
Looking good. We were just saying that we need to get a thermostat for this guy here, so we're just going to put the neck on for the moment.
We're going to put it on like... Yeah.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I won't put... You know what? I think it was 4. Yeah, this is more of a so we don't lose it kind of thing than anything else. There we go. Just like my nickname in high school. Finger tight.
So one of the cool things that we ended up grabbing to put on the engine is this fuel pressure gauge. It attaches right to here. Pretty simple install. We've got a couple of fittings that I've got to throw together, and then I can put it on. It's probably going to be impossible to see in there. I should have actually pointed it out before I put this in, is that there's a Schrader valve on this fuel rail, and that's what opens and closes to allow a little bit of fuel out to test the pressure. And so there's actually a little tiny screw that goes in there with an Allen key end, and it's hollow. I just about missed it. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but then I read the instructions, and now I've just got to start assembling the rest of my pieces here, which really isn't too much left. And installed. Ooh, That's going to be a huge help, because we all know that these engines have to have a certain regulated PSI, and I want to make sure that that's done properly so it can run well. So now it's time to start plugging stuff in. Everything is well labeled on here, so I don't think it should be too hard. And the manual, which I'm going to follow for sure, has pretty straightforward instructions, good pictures, and all that other sort of stuff. So I've hooked up most of the wiring. There's a few parts that I find a little bit confusing that I'm gonna have to go over with Tim. I know that there's certain plugs that we don't need to hook up, but there are a couple that said they are required, but I can't figure out where things go. I don't know if we're missing something. While I wait to do that, I'm gonna work on this. Our flywheel cover. Now, this is a really interesting story. We bought this online. It wasn't the most expensive one out there. It took a long time to show up. But the funny part of it was that when Purelator delivered it, and our Purelator lady is great, always does a great job, it was poorly packaged from the get-go, made a long journey. I'm surprised that the box waited to fall apart at the end of the journey. So when it arrived, we only had this, which sucked. No hardware. Now, reading some reviews from the person that we got it from, that was a common complaint. But we went ahead and bought it anyway, because why not roll the dice? So anyway, when I had asked about it and asked if they had actually found anything at the depot, she wasn't sure, but she said she would go and check. And lo and behold, randomly the next day, we were very lucky. These guys showed up, which was absolutely shocking in both bags, even the adapter. So I'm going to throw this on now. I'm going to look up the torque specs, and I can have one more thing checked off the list. These wonderful nuts. 12 points, maybe more, I don't know. Anyway, I bought a set of sockets for the shop, some cheapies, but I can't find them. But I did manage to find this weird socket that I've got in my truck. Fits on no problem at all. So we're gonna get this guy on. A little bit of blue Loctite on there. Okay, so now let's jump on the interwebs and see what the torque settings are. So first to 25, then 60, then 78 to 80. $60. Of course. No belt on the front or anything to keep this from moving. We've got to find a spot to put the mat sensor into. We're looking kind of all over the intake here, and we figured the best thing to do is just stick it right in here. It's got a little high rise, got a cap on here. We tried taking it off, but it's glued in. I'm just gonna drill it out, and then we can thread it in. We've already got a hole as a guide, so that'll be good. Take the throttle body off to make sure we don't get a bunch of crap in there. And there we go. Top of that cut off. Then I drilled it out very carefully with a couple different sizes of drill bits, and then we've got our sensor hanging out in there. So now it's just a matter of putting things back together. All right, everything is hooked back up. There we go. Throttle body is on, got our plugs back in like we had before. Mat sensor is plugged in nicely there. I'm not too concerned about the position of it because we're not gonna put that cover back on for the top of the motor. It just looks kind of weird, which means we're one step closer. Now that we've got everything mocked up on the engine, I'm on to the bigger stuff, which means mocking up the transmission. I'm gonna just use this bare bones empty casing to put it on, simply because we have not got the other transmission back together yet, and we also have to do a little bit of stuff on the flywheel and whatnot, so it'll be easier to take off. So what that's going to do is I'm going to put it on the back here so that I can see how I can run my wires, because I'm a bit concerned about how they hang. And then once I've got that on, that means headers are next, and then I put on the power steering pump, and I'm working my way through my list. So I'm gonna get at it and get that transmission on. I don't know how easy it is to see, but I've got that transmission body in there. I've also got some of our wiring figured out here. I've got to get some sort of clamp or something to hold this guy up at the back here so it's not laying all over the place. But next up, it's gonna be some headers. Get those on so that I can get stuff wired up for my battery. Header installed, but not without some challenges. I had to just grind the frame a little bit here and a little bit here for some clearance because we were just touching, kind of slash rubbing. Got all the spark plugs back in. Now, the one issue that I'm running into is, I think this is the transmission fluid dipstick. So I don't know where the oil dipstick went, but I also don't remember what the oil dipstick looks like. But there's a solution to that problem. It's always fun when you have something to refer to. And what we'll do, go take a look at the white truck because it's got the same engine in it. Oh no, I believe that is the oil dipstick. And the transmission one is different, so it's just a matter of figuring out how that guy routes because it's the exact same right there. It's also right beside the oil filler. So, back and have a look. And there we go. Turns out that it does not sit in the exact position, but it's pretty close. So now we've got everything's hooked up. It just bolts onto the bolt on the header there. I've got my spark plugs hooked back up. I think I might move this one and go around the other way, but who cares for that? I can do that later. Next up is going to be the joy of trying to fit this header in on this side, which I think is going to be a lot of the same. And there we are. This went in without so much as a whisper of trouble. Glad I did the other side first because it's always nice to come over and end up working on the easier side last. And in the meantime, I was able to also install this. So, power steering pump is on, alternator is on, wires are kind of loosely assembled back here. Nothing is being pinched or any of that sort of stuff. The only problem that I can see is that there's going to be a bit of an issue routing our power steering pump lines, but you know what, that's not a huge deal. Then we've got to put on the bottom pulley, and then I've also got to find some vacuum plugs, which I'll probably have to grab online because there aren't any around town that I can find. But big difference, looking good, getting closer and closer to firing this thing up. All right, that's it for this episode. We did a ton of stuff. Next episode, we'll tie up loose ends, and then, which there aren't really very many of them left. And then we'll soon be able to turn that key. I think that's what our plan is for the next time you see us. So thanks for watching, folks. Have a good one.